This one thing hasn't happened for the last 18 years, but it's this one thing that is going to see the most explosive, most aggressive growth phase in crypto that you have ever seen before. We've never even seen this one thing happen during the lifetime of crypto, and that's why it's going to be so disgustingly big. In this video, I'm going to give you the 5 reasons why this bull market will be so much bigger than any you have seen before. We're going to go against all the FUD and stuff that you're seeing right now because we are 8 days away from entering into the most bullish period of any bull market, and that's Q4 of a halving year. Hit the like button and let's get on with today's video. Now guys, you can see, looking at this chart, we are just 8 days away from entering into Q4, which obviously starts in October, and this is a very big deal for us because 88% is the average return for Bitcoin in Q4. When Bitcoin goes big, you better believe the altcoins will also go big. But it's not just this that's getting us excited, okay? It's not just this that's getting us pumped up. There's something else. Now, I have to go and tell you this. In a halving year, every halving year, 2016, 2020, 2024, you have a period, a lag time leading up towards Q4, and then you get Q4 explosive growth phase. There's a big reason for that, and that's because during the halving period, a load of mining companies suddenly make far less money than they did before. So what do they do to try and cope with the costs? Well, they start selling their Bitcoin. So typically straight after a halving, you see a bit of a dip in the Bitcoin price as people start to sell off. Guess what though? The mining companies are now holding. The sell pressure from Bitcoin mining companies is the lowest it has ever been. Okay, this means they're holding tighter than ever to their bags, and this is a very, very bullish thing to get started with. Also, you've got BlackRock, who've been buying billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin on a daily basis almost, also releasing these newsletters about diversification into different crypto assets, going into great deal explaining to their investors why they're moving towards crypto and why they're moving towards Bitcoin. This the time when BlackRock is also revealing that it's quietly preparing for a $35 trillion Federal Reserve dollar crisis, using Bitcoin as a hedge against that dollar crisis. But shouldn't we be panicking? The stock market's blowing off, everything's going towards all-time highs. Well, fair enough that you say this, it makes perfect sense, and that's because we're heading towards a blow-off top effect. The point at which the market becomes so overinflated that it crashes brutally, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's not going to happen just yet, and I'll explain later as to why that is and why 18.5 years is what we need to pay attention to. The S&P 500 now up 39% from October 27th, 2023 bottom, and is now starting to show growth again. The S&P 500 is up 39% from around this time last year. That's bonkers, okay? Up 40%. You're seeing companies like Meta up at all-time highs. You're seeing Nvidia up at all-time highs. The stock market, look at the index here, absolutely bonkers, the amount of growth, and it does look worrying, guys. I understand, to many this looks a little bit alarming because we're taught not to buy into the top. That's why we're not buying into the stock market. That's why we're buying into crypto, which usually follows quite closely off the back of the stock market as the risk assets exposure becomes bigger. Because right now, the stock market is only in greed. It's not yet hit extreme greed. And once it hits extreme greed is when we see people moving from stock market into the riskier assets, which is crypto. We haven't really seen a huge amount of this happening right now. We're seeing the early adopters, the BlackRocks, etc., making that move. The rest of the market will start to follow suit as the stock market continues to make people richer. The more money they have, the more exposure to risk they want, the cockier people get, the more they push towards those risk assets. And that all leads towards the blow off top. So why not a blow off top yet? Well, because of this. And this in fact comes from Jason Pizzino, a guy I met the other evening, really nice dude, talked about this in quite some detail. Basically, it's been a reliable chart since back before 1955, okay? From 1955, this chart has played out. It's an 18.5-year housing market cycle. It is linked to the global economy. Housing markets build strength as the markets grow stronger. Why? Because people make their money, they buy houses. It's a natural progression. Many of us have the dream of continually trying to buy houses, etc. When we got more money, we buy housing. When time is good, we buy houses. The housing market is a very good indicator of how the markets are looking. And guess what? In 2007, we saw an absolute bonkers blow-off top phase happen. Following that, we saw the financial crisis. 2007 was the year before the elections took place in the USA. And 2008 was when Bitcoin came around. And you can see here, if you look down below, 2025 into 2026 is when we are likely to see that major growth expansion phase happen. So we're moving into Q4 just before that final growth expansion blow off top phase happens. That's why we can get rid of all of our concerns and be a little bit bold about taking big positions, because we're about to head into the most aggressive phase of the market cycle, which is Q4 of the year before that, following into this final year. And you can see it's called the winner's curse phase, because it's when everyone gets cocky. Everyone thinks, you know what, I'm a legend, I made loads of money, let's start buying NFT pictures of rocks for 700 grand, Bored Ape Yacht Clubs for $1 million, and we're buzzing. Okay, that hasn't happened. Bored Ape Yacht Clubs at 11 ETH. Let me know down below whether you think a Bored Ape Yacht Club is good value right now. So why is this the first time this has happened for 18 years? Well, in fact, it's not the first time it's happened for 18 years. In fact, it's the first time it's happened since, I think, around 1972. And I believe it's not happened since 1972 because of this. The only election year that we've got on this list here is, in fact, 1972, where President Nixon became the president. Okay, so here we've got something that hasn't happened since 1972. This is a very big deal. This means that we now have the election year in the same year as a halving, which is obviously the same because every 4 years, on top of the fact that this overlaps with the winner's curse part of the market. This has never happened in the lifetime of crypto. It's definitely not happened in my lifetime either. Okay, it hasn't happened since 1972 that all of these things have come together to create a very exciting macro environment. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous. It's going to grow the crypto market like you have never seen before. Okay, I think it's really important to come back to this miner thing. Okay, this year's been slightly different from the previous bull markets. Why? Because of the Bitcoin ETF. We saw a growth phase in Bitcoin far more aggressive than we have done in previous cycles, and that's why we're so much higher at the start of this year than we have been in previous halving years. We hit all-time highs at the first part of the year this year, and there's a number of different reasons to why it is. More is because of adoption, more mainstream adoption, more because we're seeing BlackRock piling into the market, we're seeing institutional money piling into the market. But there's a number of factors, a number of things are leading to the pressure in the markets right now, okay? The halving. Since the Bitcoin halving, you can see that this miner profit squeeze is now dried up, okay? That means that the miners on the left are now making money once more. They're now profitable. They're not having to sell off Bitcoin in order to be able to make money, okay? And in fact, every time they have been selling it off, it's been getting bought up. We've seen the institutions, BlackRock, etc., buying OTC deals, buying Bitcoin directly from miners as to not to affect the price. But since this is now run out, it basically doesn't have the ability for these big companies to continue to buy without affecting the price. This is another incredibly important part, okay? It's now showing us that the purchasing power is going to start being put into the market and the buy pressure is going to start to have an effect. Now, another really key thing that is, again, another catalyst for growth, okay? After FTX collapsed, basically took a bunch of money under with it, $16 billion, in fact. Now FTX will start to redistribute those funds back to its investors. Guess what? $16 billion, mainly paid in stablecoins. What do you think those investors will do with their stablecoin repayments? Yes, some of them might cash out, scared of crypto, but many of them will just ape back into the markets. This is a very bullish thing for a lot of different altcoins out there, and we will look and start to do analysis as and when it happens about where a lot of those funds are traveling, and we'll look at on-chain data to show us where those funds are traveling and how we can beat the curve and how we can make quick big gains like we did the other day investing in Sui and its ecosystem. Some of the coins we talked about on the video just 2 days ago up around 150%. So if you got into SuiPad, congratulations. Let me know down below how much money you made investing in SuiPad and other projects that we talked about on the video. But well, let's have a look at Bitcoin from here. Bitcoin, as you can see, currently sits in this major bull flag pattern. And this major bull flag pattern on a weekly is showing a pretty solid bit of growth here. Now, what happens over this next week or so is, of course, uncertain. If you look into the daily, we are starting to see a little bit of pressure here. There is a good chance that maybe we come down to retest this level, this resistance level, down around 60k, and we see a bounce from here. But I think all of these things put together, moving into Q4, moving into the election cycle, the growth in global liquidity means that we are very close to entering into the biggest macro bull market that crypto has ever seen. Okay, it's not even going to be close. This next 18 months is going to be absolutely ridiculous. Okay, But there's a problem. Lots of people have been a bit concerned. We've been sat sideways for a very long time because we got over bullish too early. This was way too early to be coming up this high. And yes, we all got carried away. We all got stuck up there, but be glad of the lessons that you've learned during this period of time, because actually it's going to really serve you well once we get into the main bull market, because now you're going to learn about taking profits and feel much more confident in doing so. So all of these major things are obviously going to mean that Bitcoin has to go to at least $300,000, $1 million in fact. Stop. Okay, stop right there. Don't get carried away. Don't listen to whatever you've heard, because guess what? Been at this token event in Singapore for the last week. Met influencers, I've met traders, I've met celebrities, I've met all sorts of different people. And guess what? Every single answer I've got for the price prediction of Bitcoin is completely different. So what does that tell us? It tells us that no one's got a clue. So if no one's really got a clue, there's only a few things we should have in our mind right now. What are we going to do and use as our advantage over this period of time? Well, we need to pay attention to these cycles. Keep in mind these cycles, these timings, okay? Think about the winner's curse. Think about what might indicate the winner's curse is taking place. People taking riskier and riskier bets. This bull market, we're going to see people pushing more and more aggressively. In the last bull market, it was NFTs. We saw the NFT market going crazy. We saw explosive growth there. Don't go into this market with, I'm going to sell at this price. If Bitcoin gets to around 135k and then everyone starts to ape into all sorts of crazy things and the massive amount of money flooding into altcoins and stuff like that, and then Bitcoin's like the most searched thing on Google, and like Coinbase is the #1 downloaded app, well, that's the case, okay? Then get out of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin gets to 300k before that starts to happen, then also do the same. Guys, throughout this bull market, I'm going to give you the stats, the data. I'm going to show you the sentiment and allow you to continue reading the sentiment. I think we're going to have a very aggressive early growth phase in 2025. I think we could have a bit of a cool in the middle of the year, and then towards the end of 2025, the final blow off top, the final brutal bull market. But your opportunity right now couldn't be better, okay? Setting yourself up right now for this is the best time, in my opinion. Now, if you want to be kept up to date with what's going on throughout this bull market, then make sure you subscribe to the channel, okay? We'll keep it realistic, we'll keep it objective. I'll teach you how to understand what's really happening in the markets so that you don't have to go and ask someone what's happening, so that you don't have to ask someone whether it's the right time to buy this coin, whether it's the right time to sell this coin, because you've got to know for yourself. You can't trust anyone, so make sure you trust yourself. Okay, you're not going to be able to trust yourself until you know what's really going on. Something to pay attention to right now is very key, is the Bitcoin dominance suddenly starting to show weakening. Okay, it's suddenly getting up to around sort of 60%. I do think there is a chance that we kind of continue to bounce around here, but eventually, all of a sudden, we're going to see the Bitcoin dominance drop out of here. When Bitcoin dominance does drop out of here, you're going to see massive growth again in the altcoins. You're seeing this at a time that the overall market, minus Bitcoin and Ethereum, is looking to break out of this very bullish looking flag pattern. I do think that we are going to break very, very soon from here. It's going to see aggressive growth phases. I know you're down a lot in some altcoins, but don't worry, a lot of those will recover very quickly, in my opinion. So that's all to look forward to. Also, guys, if you want to pick up any of the crypto coins that I talk about on this channel, or any crypto coins that you pretty much hear anywhere, then you need to get yourself a Bitunix account, which is linked down below in the description. Why do I use Bitunix over another exchange? Well, because it doesn't require a KYC. And guess what? That means that I can access it in any country. I can trade on this exchange without having to register my identity, which is pretty important as far as I'm concerned. Now, obviously, that's not financial advice. Go and check it out for yourself. Also, they'll list all the coins that I asked them to. So when I talk about coins on this video, they will all get listed. If you want coins listed on Bitunix, then go and trade over there. Let me know down below in the comments to list certain coins, and the team will go and start registering them straight away. Guys, thanks for watching. Hit the like button. Really, really helps me out. And as well, I will see you on Tuesday with another video. Bye-bye.